this is a crazy castle. So I'm going to split off from talking about solo travel for a second and focus on where I am right now. This castle that I'm in was originally built by the Moors, like pretty much everything in the Iberian. For those of you who don't know, the Moors were basically a group of Muslims from North Africa and the Middle East who came to Iberia after the Visigoths and the Goths sort of took it over from the Romans. After the Romans fell, the Moors came and they basically developed the Iberian. So they built the first iteration of this castle, which I don't think this part of it was necessarily that. It contributes a lot to the unique Iberian architecture you see. You notice how the houses look like that, the kind of thing that you'd see, because if you think of Spain and you think of like France and Belgium and other European countries, you have a very more distinct thought of Spain and Portugal. And a lot of that comes from the Moors that separated them from the rest. And then after a couple of years, the Moors were rewarded with the Christians coming in and kicking them all out, like Christians do. Happens, even to the best of nations. And then the Christians developed on top of this castle when they first arrived. Well, not when they first arrived, when they took power. And then Spain fell under Spanish rule for a while, and it became more of a military installation instead of the more traditional castle. For those of you who don't know what a traditional castle is, basically it's the purpose of the castle that I'm speaking about. Traditionally, castles were built for kings and queens and royal guards to hide in during a siege. And basically a siege is when a bunch of troops come to a town and sit outside it until the town gives up. Why is this effective? Well, pretty simple. Because if you have a large army and you sit outside of a town, nobody can leave the castle. And if nobody can leave the castle, they can only eat and drink what's inside the castle. So basically, when you siege a castle, you don't necessarily send men to climb up this unscalable hill to their deaths. You just sit at the bottom. And you just wait for them to starve to death, essentially, because there's nothing they can do. That's the general idea. But the general idea of the castle is that, hey, you have the high ground. So you can wait here and wait them out, because maybe they'll starve. Or maybe they'll get sick. That's medieval warfare in a nutshell. Who will die from disease first? Essentially. And I gotta admit, this castle is pretty damn impressive, and I would not want to be on the outside of it. To be honest with you, I wouldn't want to be in a siege either way, but I think this is the good side of it. So anyways, when the Spanish took over, it just became more of a military installation. The royal family had already moved out of the castle and more into the city. There's actually a square that I went to where I saw the more of the old royal family palace. Portuguese politics no longer includes a king. I think they have a prime minister and a president. The president is, unlike our president, is more of a figurehead. I think the only power he possesses is to dismiss the prime minister, which is actually something we could use in America right now. Could be pretty helpful. Unfortunately, we didn't think about that when we were writing the Declaration of Independence. Yeah. Sort of just me